from the background that I gave earlier, these are the requirements that we're going to get from the IMF. They want us to structure our reforms and including improving the business environment. How do we get all of this right? So as we all chew around this, and we're going to come to the tables, we'll take from other experts as well. But if we can bring these out so that by the time we all leave here, we know what to expect as far as agriculture is concerned, the impact of this IMF. Can we take the position of Mr. Edward Kareweh now?
We are extremely happy to be given an opportunity to take part in this discussion because we are a trade union and we are also farmers. High-level discussions, that is not what we are interested in. We are interested in the outcomes. But we have reached a point where I think you have seen the need, IMANI and GIZ, to invite us to take part in the discussion. We are very much happy. You see, to start with, you see, when you see IMF, is IMF a solution or a problem? If Ghana has gone to IMF, and this is now the 17th time, there's something wrong. Either IMF is a problem, or Ghana is a problem. So the question as to whether Ghana will go back to IMF after this, it's neither here nor there for me because IMF is not a solution to Ghana's problems. IMF is basically propagating and enforcing market-oriented corporate governance. IMF is driving unbridled liberalization. IMF is talking about unbridled free trade. IMF is talking about, cutting the size of government. And Prof indicated that IMF of today appears to be different from IMF of yesterday. But IMF cannot be so much born again, such that they can abandon all their fundamental reasons why they exist. The questions I want to put forward is this. What will IMF do when government decides to de-invest in agriculture? If you take this year, for instance, and that is in relation to the Platform for Food and Jobs. Last year, government subsidy was 36% on fertilizer and the seed. This year, 2022, government decided to cut down to 15%. What will IMF do? Can IMF force government to go and increase the subsidy back to 36% or more? Government this year decided to cut down the subsidy, that is the total fertilizer that they would give to farmers, around 25%, up to 25% of last year, 2021. The question again is, what will IMF do if you go to IMF? These are things that IMF has no solution. Now, the other one is, what will IMF do when government is refusing to fix the roads to the farm gates? Where the food is produced and where the food will come from, the roads to that place are deplorable. What will IMF do? Can IMF force government to do those things? What will IMF do when government gives wrong data and statistics? Because, look, you see, in 2021, government indicated, and this was in the President's State of the Nation address on 5th January 2021, that 2020 maize production had gone up by 110% over 2019 maize production. And that was in the year of COVID. 2020 was the heart of the COVID. And yet, per our statistics, we produce maize production had gone up by 110%. Rice production had gone up by 48%. But we also saw what happened last year. 2 months, 3 months after January, what happened? There was no maize in the system. What will IMF do when we go to them? What will IMF do when government develop and implement the discounted benchmark value policy? You know, this is another form of subsidy, and you subsidize imports. To the extent that some of the imports can be produced here, and you decide to have that policy and implement it, what would IMF do? Can IMF compel government to not to do those things? You see, we have the problem. If we want to get an IMF over the years have actually plumbed this country into this problem. In the 1980s, the economic recovery program, the structural adjustment program, cut down the size of government. Yes, we Ghanaians should hold government on to cut down its size. When IMF comes and they say cut down the size of the government they are talking about labor. Between 1983 to 1990, the number of workers that have been laid off, we have never been able to get them back. If we go to IMF, are we now going to increase our employment? So IMF is not the solution. IMF has been part of our problems, and we don't need to go to IMF to be able to solve our problems. In fact, the fact that government has now decided to go to IMF, we should all be ready and know that our problems are going to exacerbate. They are not going to come down. If we want to solve the problems of Ghana, look, I just don't know what is in IMF. That we can never stay away from them. What good ideas do they have that we cannot find them anywhere? I'm saying this because how many professors are there in this country? Prof is here. What doesn't he know about the economy? I've been listening to IMANI. Who has knowledge more than IMANI? There are other institutions. Why don't you bring all these people together? Put them in a room. Give them 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month. They will find the solutions for us. Why do we go to IMF? IMF, what ideas do they have about my village? What do they know about the farm? What type of farming do they do? Do they know my culture more than us? You know, we are not ready to solve our problems. And if we go to IMF, we'll continue to have more of them. So the question as to whether or not, how will Ghana 17th IMF program impact on investment in agriculture and manufacturing? It's when we decide. If you go to IMF cannot increase your investment in agriculture. So my point is that here is a country, we have leaders, we have people who they governed. We should hold our leaders on. Our leaders should also know that we have all that it takes, even the money. Look, when the money they are going to take from IMF, if they make Ghanaians convinced, I think that Ghanaians will contribute 1 cedi, 2 cedis, and give to government to implement. But because we don't trust them, they will not get that money from here. Even the rich will not give them the money. And when they go to IMF, conditionalities. IMF is with conditionalities. It has never been without conditionalities. And those conditionalities are never in the interest of this country. If they are in the interest of this country, why are we still today? And if IMF exists and government begins to behave another way, and then later on IMF comes. If I were IMF, you see, IMF should also be honest enough to say, look, Ghana, I'm sorry, you have come to us over and over many times. We came, we helped you, you did this and that. When we left, you mismanaged again. Therefore, this time, we are not ready to come to you. We won't support you. But IMF cannot do that because IMF will become what? I mean, they will not have any use. They will not have work to do. So they have to accept countries like Ghana, which have gone there many times, and it has not helped. If you continue to go to a particular doctor, you've gone to the doctor 16 times, and your ailment is not cured, why should you still go to that doctor? And if that doctor is also aware that he has been giving you directions, what to do and not to do, and you refuse to do that, the doctor should be honest and say, look, you are my patient, I can't treat you anymore, find your solution somewhere. So this discussion is to our leaders. Where are they here? Initially, someone was supposed to come from the ministry. Where are they? They are not here. Where are they? And I know they are listening, wherever they are. But it is not enough to listen. It is not enough to listen. Your people are crying for solutions. The solutions are all here. You don't want to implement them. Some do not even require money. They don't require money. We have the knowledge, we have everything. So my opinion is that, look, going to IMF is dangerous. This country will never have peace so long as they continue to visit IMF. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kareweh. Well, your final submission.
You see, when it comes to matters of truth and untruth, democracy doesn't come in. It does not matter how many people speak the untruth. It will never turn to be true. The truth is the truth. Even if it is one person who is on the truth and the rest are on truth, the untruth will not turn truth. So what I'm just trying to say that we all know what is happening. We have leaders. It is our leaders that are leading us. They hold all our monies. They hold the power to spend the money the way we should hold them. They are the problem. And if you see, all of us are listening to them. All of us are watching them. It is what they do. It's what Ghanaians follow them. Sometimes they just neglect us. If they refuse to listen to you, what will happen? Look, the point about the peasant farmers, look, to be a peasant farmer is by default. Nobody wants to be a peasant farmer. You see, these are people who are begging for a living. These are people who are at the lower level of the social structure and economic structure. So if government says, in the name of peasant farmers, go and mismanage, it's not the peasant farmers. It's not them. You see, so we need to differentiate that. But you cannot throw away this large number of people who are at the lower level of our economic and social structure. Government must come to their intervention first, and then can also use the other ones to build them up, or so that we can go into the commercial farm. Because as we speak now, if the figures are right, about they say that 80% of 70% of domestic production is with the peasant farmers. So if you are thinking about growing this economy, you cannot throw away these people overnight.
Thank you very much.